Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. With your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Thursday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, Dennis Dick with you this morning. The earnings parade carries on, and we're at new highs once again. So it's like the past few weeks didn't really make that much of a difference in the grand scheme of things. So we'll talk about that. Market continues on higher, and we'll get to as many, unlike yesterday, we'll get to as many earnings reports as we can today. There are a lot to get through. Our guest will be at 8:15, Anne-Marie Baiynd. She is from the tradingbook.com. Joel, what's the word here overnight?
Green on the screen. We're off the highs, though. Trading up 8 1/4 handles at 3343.25. Pre-market low, just below that close, that all-time closing high from yesterday, 35 even. Pre-market low, 32.50. So no downside until we take out that 32.50. On the upside, we kind of rallied on some news we already knew, but rallied to 57.75, folks. That's your all-time high. Nothing up there. Good target if we go continue the rally mode here off the open. Crude's up 9 cents. It was up a lot more. It was up at 52.20 and a low of 50.79. Folks, crude is trying to have its first back-to-back up days since beginning of the year. Not 2 up days in a row, up 9 cents right now. Gold in the green by 750 at 15.70.30, kind of in a trading range. Silver up 18.3 cents at $17.78.5. And Bitcoin knocking on the door again, up 140 bucks at 9,970. Pretty good volume trading in the Bitcoin futures. Triple D, it's deja vu all over again.
Oh, yeah.
Trading at all-time highs.
I mean, I talked and I tweeted this last night, and the market was starting to come in because we had confirmation come that not only 10 people on the cruise ship have the coronavirus, but now 20 do. And then to my understanding, only 100 people have been tested so far. So I don't know if they have to continue going through the whole ship. I feel so sorry for all those people on that cruise. They started to hit the cruise lines down on it last night, and I was talking with my buddy, and I was like, you know what? They're just going to buy them back. They're going to buy it back up, and the cruise lines will be trading up on this. That's how silly this market is, and they're going to end up buying the market back too. S&Ps were down a couple of points on that last night, but you could tell China was already starting to get bid up. And if China goes up, we go up. And when you've got when you've got China injecting liquidity into the markets, it's hard tape to fight. It's like fighting the Fed all those years when we were fighting the Fed. So if China's going to prop up their markets, it's going to prop up the markets of the rest of the world. And that's what we see overnight here once again, China having a significant rally. So despite the Wuhan coronavirus just running rampant in the city and obviously spreading significantly, even at these numbers that they're sending out, which I don't believe in for a minute after all the videos I've seen, it doesn't matter. They're just popping up their markets, and it's hard to fight that.
All right. Price don't lie, and we're looking at the price.
Price does lie. I know price is lying. Price is lying because it's inflated. Price has lied for a long time. I mean, when you have central banks injecting liquidity into the systems, that's how price lies. But how do you stop? How do you fight that? So price, you need to follow price as a trader, with the trading hat on, not, with investing hat on here, but with the trading hat on, you've got to follow price. And when markets are making new all-time highs like the S&P, you absolutely cannot be short. And if you are short, you are fighting. You're fighting China here right now because they are keeping their markets afloat. I mean, they're not even allowing some people to sell over there and sell short. You can't sell short in certain accounts or for certain brokers. So, I mean, it's an artificially inflated market here. How long they can keep it up, I'm very skeptical of, because I do think eventually some of this stuff is going to come to roost. I do eventually think that there is going to be a significant fall in the markets, because I don't think this coronavirus is going away. I do think it's going to spread. I do think it's going to spread over here. I do not think it's going away. With that being said, you know what, last night I came in long. I came along because I was like, I know what the story's going to be here. We're going to go up, and I tweeted it out. And there's a little bit sarcasm in my tweets last night, but it was real too, because I'm like, they're going to rally it on this. This is just what this market does. It rallies in the face of bad news. It doesn't care. And over here, let's put it in perspective. We have very few cases over here. So, S&Ps are just following China. China coming back, they're going to rip them higher on the S&Ps for sure. So China's getting artificially inflated, and we're just following suit. And that's why you're seeing this market just continue to rip up, despite all these horrible videos you see online, which are true. I mean, you can see them spraying down the cities with chemicals, trying to kill the thing. That looks like they're apparently lighting fires now, trying to kill the virus. I mean, it's so serious over there. And I am heartbroken for those people over there. I really am. I truly am heartbroken for those people over there. I cannot believe, I can't even imagine the horror that they're going through, being quarantined. I hear people are dying in their homes. There's, waiting, they're waiting 8 to 10 days to get a hospital bed, and people are dying while they're waiting. I mean, it's just a horrible mess. So, but if you look at our markets over here, I mean, we haven't had any deaths in North America, and that's good news.
How many cases do
they can keep it contained here?
We have what, 13 reported cases here in the United States?
It's very low yet. But remember, It started very low like this in China as well. So we're not out of the woods by any means because we only have 13 cases. There's probably a lot of people still going around carrying this virus right now. I mean, the numbers, of people that were coming in from China over the course of the last few weeks, before they put the travel ban on, were very high. So it's in all likelihood that there is a lot more of these cases. They just, people aren't sick yet. There's a 10-day incubation period. People aren't showing symptoms, and some people might be able to fight through it. But I don't think we're going to, all of a sudden just get rid of this thing. I think it's going to be something that is going to be around for a while. I hope they come up with a vaccine. I hope, obviously, that, everybody stays safe. I hope we can avoid deaths in North America. I am very doubtful of that, though. And I think when you start to see deaths outside of China, we've seen a couple so far. We start to see that, the market is going to get more spooked. I feel sorry for the cruise ship that everybody's quarantined on. I believe there's 251 Canadians on that ship. And these
what cruise lines is that?
I think it's Princess, isn't it, Spencer?
Yeah, it's Princess Cruise Lines.
Who owns Princess?
I think they're self-owned.
Is that
are they private?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if one of the big guns owns them or not, because obviously this is the big three that are publicly traded.
Oh, my bad. Owned by Carnival. My bad.
It is Carnival.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It's Carnival, and Carnival traded down on this last night. You can look at the chart. Carnival traded down, rightfully so. In normal uninflated markets, the stock would be down on this. But we're not in normal markets right now. We're being propped up. We're being inflated. When you see China rally overnight, it makes everybody a little calmer. I mean, let's just use your logic here. I mean, I would be absolutely shocked if Carnival doesn't massively miss their next quarter earnings, or the quarter after, whenever, because the bookings are going down. People aren't, they see these headlines. There's some people that are still going to book cruises. But if I was going to book a cruise, I will tell you, and I think I'm pretty typical. If I was going to book a cruise, I'd hold off a little bit just to see what's happening, because I don't want, especially, this is all over Canadian headlines, 251 Canadians on this ship. Do I want to just go book a cruise somewhere and get quarantined for 14 days, potentially get this virus? People are so scared on the ship. Apparently, most of them are staying in their cabins. And then I've heard even in the other ship that was quarantined, they've been.
Oh, lost you there, Dennis. But one thing I want to add, while Dennis I think maybe his internet had a glitch. I don't know. One thing to keep in mind this morning is they're going to say that we're up because China capitulated on some tariffs. China is going to roll back or have $75 billion worth of U.S. imports as part of phase one of the trade deal that was signed. And here's a thought that I saw from Twitter. Great follow on Twitter at Northman Trader. His name is Sven Henrik. If you don't.
Yeah, I've seen this before.
Yeah, and he had a thought that I'm inclined to agree with. How long before people? I'll read you his tweet. How long before people realize that China proactively capitulating on tariffs is a sign of how serious the economic impact of this virus actually is? And it's something to consider, right? The tariff headline overnight was part of the phase one deal. We knew this sort of thing was coming, but something to consider is China's other motives there for following the deal, in relation to the coronavirus. But let's get to some earnings here. It's already 8:11, and we have our guest coming on in 4 minutes. So let's start with Twitter. And I don't know where Dennis is. His screen is completely frozen. I think his internet is just gone. The only thing I can say about Dennis right now. So we will get Dennis back, but in the meantime, the show must go on. So let's do Twitter earnings here. You know, you never know what they're going to what they're going to look for in the earnings report, and whether they're going to buy it on one number or sell on another number. And this morning, they apparently like the revenue and the daily active user number, because the earnings per share was not good. 25 cents versus 29 cents. That's a miss. And the revenue only beat by a hair. 1.01 billion versus $996 million was the estimate. The DAUs, daily active users, was good. 152 million versus 147.5 million on the estimate. So it was their fastest quarterly growth for daily active users since the company started keeping the metric. So I guess they like that number.
They do. They do. Quiet consolidation. After the last earnings report, we had the drop, and then just real quiet markets. Rallied. No stealth rally. I know a couple downgrades knocked it down on some of these days in December and January. Full disclosure, still have a long-term position in this one. Not doing anything with it, probably anytime ever. 36.48 stands as your pre-market high. You've backed off there, not a whole lot, but you have backed off to 36.18. And I'm looking from your last earnings report, a gap to fill to 37.76. So can't really give you any resistance in the market, because there isn't any. That's what we gapped up from. So let's use that pre-market high at 36.48, and we'll take it from there.
And you said it on the pre-market show. What difference a quarter makes, right? Because I mean, look at that gap.
Oh yeah,
look at that gap. It's a big one.
It. Now they're bringing it back, and we'll take it from there. We'll see what happens to Twitter today. Currently trading up 275 at 36.16. Good volume out there too.
All right, Dennis said he'll be back in a minute. This definitely happened once before when he was talking about China, so we know they're always listening. We got to be careful.
No,
we got to be careful. We got to be careful about that. Let's do one more. Bristol-Myers Squibb, Q4 EPS $1.22 versus a 94-cent estimate. What was the sales number here? $7.9 billion. As I pull the estimate up, 7.9 versus a $6.1 billion estimate. So they handily beat on both the earnings and the revenue for last quarter, and they gave some guidance that was in line. Good report.
Yeah, good report for BMY trading. How we traded here? Trading up $1.91. Whoo, that's a nice move for that stock, up at 67.50. Where we been in this thing? Recently, wow, 68.34. That was your high on January 22nd. The previous day's high was 67.25. Pre-market high, where'd your pre-market high come in? It's 67.85. So let's see if we can plow through that 67.85. This is the only resistance after that is 68.34.
All right, let's bring on our guest for the day, Anne-Marie Baiynd. She is a trader, a technician, and she is from thetradingbook.com is her website. Anne-Marie, good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. How are you doing this morning?
I have had insomnia, so you could ask me another question.
How are you doing last night? How are you doing last night? Since last night never ended, apparently.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
are you having insomnia because of this market? Is that why?
It could be the case. It could very well be the case. It's been really such a whipsaw. And, when we have whipsaws like this, we want to position. We always are thinking about direction, right? Where is the market going? How are things working? That sort of stuff. And what we end up realizing, if we really step back for a minute and think about, all right, what are we in the market to do? We're in the market to make money. a lot of us really, if we're to be completely honest, we're sort of in the market to find excitement or do something that's very interesting and adventurous. And when you start losing money, when the market gets really adventurous, and I think these are Dramamine moments right now, right? Seatbelt strapped on tight and Dramamine up. We have to remember that in order to really invest consistently, we've got to think about, wait a second, am I operating with my edge? And so that really, I was thinking about that actually before I tried to fall asleep. And so the reason I sound like I've been smoking a lot of cigars is because I was coughing quite a bit. And so forgive me for that froggy voice, but you are right. It can keep you up at night. And so, I was thinking about coming on the show. I love being on the show with you guys, and I love listening and to the ideas and everything. But what I was listening to over the last week was, we sort of get caught up in this big spiral of, can we have direction? And right now we are sitting in such a news-driven market that we really have to say, hey, if I'm going to participate, where am I going to participate? What's holding on to its moves? And so I would say this morning, I would say, hey, let's take a look at some gold. Let's take a look at some boring things like utilities. And then let's take a look at what's happening really from the big giant Tesla move. It really had an effect on oil. I believe they were being moved in tandem a little bit, but let's look at batteries. So, battery technology is great. And, I suppose what I put on before I thought about coming on the show, I thought, you know what, I think I need to put my psychology hat on for everybody to let them say, hey, the market's rhythm is not being normal at this juncture. We know it.
You can say that again.
So the question is, how do we capitalize in all of this abnormal movement? And for some of us that are really good at catching these edges and saying, "Ooh, there goes the whipsaw, I'm going to take it up," that are purely technical, we're doing all right. But for those of us that go, hey, when this happens, then this should happen, and we're looking for logical controls on the market, we're coming up lemons. And so that you have to sort of reconstruct and deconstruct a little bit and think about, well, wait a second, if the market is being illogical right now and being very whipsaw and news driven, can I find places where that's not happening? And so that was my search last night. I know I normally talk about the broad market, so we can do that all, but that was me sitting on the couch saying, hey, if we're going to trade for a living or trade to increase the size of our accounts, let's stop participating in places that are so volatile they're going to blow us out, and look to the spaces that, hey, they're moving, so let's watch for a little pullback where we can get involved. And those things are battery technologies. The gold space is still doing very, very well. And strangely, utilities have been performing so well. Comparatively, they're like second to tech. So those were just my thoughts on everything. And I apologize for the ramble, but I was really thinking carefully about how to add value here today being on.
Yeah, no, thanks for joining us, Anne Marie. I just got to ask, just off subject here a little bit. Did you have fun at the Super Bowl?
I can't even tell you what an amazing thing that was. I've never been around so many famous and vaguely famous people in my life. The people where you go, wait, who is that? Right? Actually, Paul Ryan was sitting about 3 seats to my right. And I nudged my husband. I went, wait, who is that guy?
He looks familiar, huh?
Yeah, totally. And then Nancy Pelosi was about 2 rows behind
Wow,
us.
fun.
The owner of the Sacramento Kings was sitting right beside us. It was crazy. It was a once in a lifetime bucket list thing.
Good.
And that,
Good.
hey, we're getting old. Let's do it. And I had a favorite for winning. He had a favorite for winning. So it worked out great. And we had a blast. It was
All right,
exhausting.
good.
But it was a lot
Getting
of fun.
getting back to the markets here. I mean, how are you approaching? I mean, you like to follow the broad market. Seems like we've had some really big moves overnight, and a lot of chop and slop during the day. Have you been catching these moves overnight, or still trying to tackle the intraday trading?
Okay, so here's what I've been doing. I expanded out a little bit wide and I said, okay, I'm going to look for my weekly closes and I'm going to look for my weekly highs and my lows, of course, right? And then I'm going to say, okay, if I'm looking at the broad market action, so let's pull up a copy of the ES or the SPX or anything like that. What I was looking for was when we are in heavy trend, and of course you're going to know when you're in trend when you're sitting above very tight moving averages. So you're going to look at that maybe 8 exponential or something like that. And you're going to see that the price action is really up. Now you have nice clean charts, so we could really even draw a line and go, wow, that's good, strong, linear motion. And so when we have all of that type of motion, we're going to see, okay, if this is this strong, then I know my deep dips are going to cause cross currents. And those cross currents are going because there's all kinds of news that says, listen, we've got a lot of traders and a lot of money still on the sidelines because they think the market's going to roll. So when we have these deep dips and they come back into last month's close or last month's high or last month's mid-range, whatever it is, the people who've been waiting to get in on the sidelines go, I'm going to get in a little bit right here. Let's go ahead and test the water. I'm going to take a little bit right here. And so it continually forces the market back up. And it's because there's so much participation and dry powder still on the sidelines. There's a lot of money left to invest in the market, and we know they're using it to hedge. And so for me, I'm just going to look at that line and go, I know these pullbacks look and feel horrific, but am I above my last month's close? Am I above my last month's high? The answer is yes, buyers are going to come in. When that answer becomes no, then I'm going to say, okay, wait a second. Maybe I'm slipping down into the low from 3 weeks ago, or the close from 3 weeks ago, or 5 weeks ago, or whatever it is. I'm using those spaces as stair steps and watching big money get involved. I've become very, very deliberate in the indexes and the indices simply because the market is such a whipsaw space. So I'll come in the morning like today and I'll see, hey, we closed yesterday at 33.3750 or thereabouts on the ES. Here, of course, we're going to gap up. And as long as we hold the opening gap and we don't step into the area of the gap, it means the buyers are in full force. So I can say, hey, I'm going to buy. And as soon as it hits that level and it starts dropping below, I have a yellow signal mentally that comes out and says, wait a second, that's an alert. They're trying to either fill the gap or they're trying to have a deeper fade. At that point, I can look at my intraday motion and really, a lot of us put up technical indicators, but we still trade what we think. Some of us are very good at trading what we think. Dennis is one of those guys.
Emery, that's all I do. I am a think trader, and I'll tell you, this market's been a tough one for those who are using logic to trade it. So your technicians won the day on me on this one, because I was trading off of logic, looking at a lot of what's happening over there and thinking logically that how can the markets rally in this. But I didn't consider that China would just continue to inject liquidity into their markets and prop it up. And that's where, you know, I was flawed. So obviously I've changed my sentiment. I said, when markets start making new all-time highs, I cannot be short. So, you know, so obviously I've moved, and I've been actually trading it from the long side the last couple of days, because how do you fight the tape? But I
Right.
mean, logic sometimes works, sometimes doesn't.
Well,
These
most of
markets
the
here, when you have
time.
you know, mass, you know, intervention by, you know, the Fed or China in this case, it's hard to fight that.
Absolutely. I think a lot of logical traders are having a devil of a time in this market because the charts are defying logic.
Well, Tesla, I mean, there's no
algorithms are
logic behind that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no
It's
logic.
You want to
just-
talk Tesla a little bit, Anne-Marie? You get
Sure,
down and dirty in that at all?
absolutely, absolutely,
All right,
absolutely.
give us your thoughts on Tesla here.
Okay, so Tesla was expanding, and again, you know, everybody was thinking, "Wow, can this get to $1,000?" And I saw a couple of tweets I thought were very, very interesting in the morning, and one of them was, "Hey, I've held Tesla for 3 years solid, doing nothing but adding, but now I'm done because this is an absolutely unreasonable." Relative motion. Now, logically, we know parabolic motion cannot last. And so what we have to look at are, what are the cues that something is breaking down? And it's as simple as, hey, let's take a look at the daily chart. Look at that thing that looks like an abandoned baby, right? And I'm not a good person with the formations of candlesticks, but let's think about what it means when everybody gaps up, tries to hold higher, ends up holding right where they opened almost, and then the next day they open underneath the low of that sort of doji looking candlestick. Everything there says, look out, folks, that's a sell zone. And so today when we look at it, it's in the body of the prior candlestick to that left that we can see that's very, very green. I like to use Gann numbers, right? So I'll take the body and I'll divide it into fourths. I use a channel and I'll divide it into fourths. Once I hit that halfway mark, I ought to see price action come in and hold. Now it did come in, it did hold, it's holding above that area, but I don't know what it's doing in the pre-market.
Down $27, roughly 708.27. So
I think it's at a 90-point range already today. Somebody tweeted
Oh,
out. I
really?
don't have that that's what somebody just tweeted. I'm not sure if that's real because
Wow.
I haven't looked at the pre-market chart, but you can look at it right now, Joel.
Right.
I
Yeah,
guess-
let me see.
Absolutely. Okay, so now what we're doing, if we're looking at this area, what we have to look at is what was the close of yesterday, and am I underneath that? If I am underneath the close of yesterday, meaning lower, it means sellers are going to come out. And so they're going to be people that are thinking, hey, I'm looking for a cheap buy. This is pulled back to 700, you know, because this is a cult stock for sure. And people are still thinking it's going to 1,000. But as a trader, what you have to look at is, wait a second, what's happening? I hit a low and now I am above that low. So if you are saying to yourself, I'm going to take a shot at this thing bouncing right here because it's going to recover into the 750 area at the very least, then you can literally take a trade right there and your stop would be $8 or $9.
Whew.
And that's really all, well, you know, I mean, we are talking a $700.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
you do. No, yeah,
right? So
I
it's
mean, that
less
thing
than,
moves like that on.
1.2%, right?
Yep.
And
Amber.
so, yes, go ahead.
I
please.
just want to ask you about Tesla too here, and somebody tweeted this out, and I was like, you know what? It's funny how this stuff works, but you know, the S&Ps bottomed at 666 during the financial crisis. GE bottomed at $6.66. Is there any realm of possibility that this thing could bottom at $666? I thought it was funny. I don't want to mention it, but it's funny how some of the times these psychological things work like that. Is there any realm of, I mean, we're 50 points. It's going to have a wild range.
Yeah.
It's in the realm of possibilities that this could see $666 today. Is there anything like any type of support you see down in that type of range? Like, I mean, we're significantly off the highs now.
650 is a really fair support range. My thought is this though, if we compare it to an actual explosion of motion, it might have a little bit of a plateau event at the 650, but
Okay.
this thing is probably coming right back to 500.
You think we
Right.
could come back to 500 on this?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
It took
from a
off like a
valuation
rocket
perspective,
ship.
it can go
Yeah.
anywhere. But
Oh, absolutely. But see, notice how really it had a nice, really big jockey from say, I don't know, maybe even 300. When Jeremy was really big on the Tesla bull, it was down there at like that 270, 290
Yeah.
area. And he was like, no, it's going, it's going. And he was spot on about that. When we got to about 490, we started really jockeying around price. People were thinking, oh, this is kind of a lever. And then it began to gap up day after day after day after day after day. And that is an element of short squeeze action. And so my thought is that it exhausts all the way back down and fills the majority of these gaps. There are many gaps here that Tesla will probably never fill. It's just one of those gappy charts. But I'm thinking that this one has a shot. Now, I can't sit there at this juncture and go, okay, so, I'm buying the 500 puts for, I don't know, what are they going for?
Oh,
50
I
cents.
still want
it's crazy. The prices are just absolutely nuts.
Yeah. So I can't do that because it's really closing my eyes and throwing a dart blindly. But what I can see is the stair step down. And as long as we hold the lows of yesterday, we are going to be in fair shape. If we lose those lows, we're going to start stair stepping down. And the next place that it goes is really right at the edge of that green candlestick on that opening range. So that looks like about what, 670, 675, something like that?
666.
Seriously?
No, I'm just saying.
I think we got
low. I am the worst.
I'll tell you, every so often I learn of a new technical pattern. I never heard of the abandoned baby pattern.
Yeah, describe this one to us. Like you said, I've never heard that either, and we want to use it again. So I don't really see the abandoned baby. I'm trying to find it in here.
I'm not quite sure what to be looking for.
I don't know what to look for either. Like I'm looking for like a baby that's like just sitting on the street.
Okay, so an abandoned baby is when you have a stock that is moving parabolically and it gaps up and creates a doji, and the next day gaps down.
Okay.
So that is they're calling it a baby because it's a small area. The island reversal is similar, but you know what? Then we're dipping into areas where it's really not my wheelhouse. But
I like the abandoned baby for a
So,
minute.
so Tuesday.
That's a good analogy.
So Tuesday is the baby. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. The formation is like that, and what it tells us is, hey, listen, we had an explosive
upside capitulation event.
That's right. And yet, with all the pressure to hold up there, we barely closed over the open. And then the very next day, people were like, this is too much. And so it gapped right back down and away.
And if I can throw some logic at you, the way I would look at this, and it's funny how the technicals can play out in the logic as well sometimes, but it was that move with 5 minutes to go in the day.
Yeah.
Oh man, was it $95 or something?
Yeah, it fell over 100 points in 7 minutes. And Joel and I looked at the chart yesterday from 348 to 355. It fell over 100 points, and that's when everybody is like spooked. And I honestly think that analyst that downgraded it the next day was waiting for a down move where he could come in. Okay, now there's some people caught in this. Now, if I downgrade, I'm probably going to be on the right side of the trade. He was waiting for some weakness, saw that weakness at the end of the day. Okay, now is the time to release this paper. And then the downgrade comes and the follow through selling just continues because of that. So amazing that, that 90 or 100 point sell off, that was telling you that, whoa, we might have just topped out. Because that was the most significant move you see, in 7 minutes on no news. It's one thing when they fall on news like that, but that was just like it was no news on that move. It was just flat out, just everybody trying to get the hell out as fast as they could. It ended up closing up a little bit from the lows there, but then the next day we got the downgrade, and then obviously, now we have a top end.
Absolutely. And when you participate like this, is like you're at your favorite, most exciting club, but it's getting ready to burn down. And so you're standing right near the exit door. Something's about to happen. And that is really exactly what happens in this kind of space. Interestingly, if you look at something like the RSI, which once in a while, I talk to technicians by text and they're like, oh my gosh, take a look at what's happening to the RSI. This chart is going to have a really big problem tomorrow if this screen holds out, and you can really see the strength of moves into the chart really slowing down, and the power of moves out getting stronger. It's that building of a wave in a reverse direction. Right now, I think, they're going to try and pull this edge, which is why I'm looking at this and I'm saying, hey, you want to take a long right here? From the time we talked, it's already up $4, right? And so you can look at that and go, well, from my formation that I'm staring down right now, where are all the sellers? Well, they're up there at 734, which is where we closed yesterday or something like that. And so that's really what they're trying to get through. So I have just cleaned up my chart so dramatically to go, how can I take a look at what kind of craziness is going on in here, and where do I see the opportunity to get in? Where can I get out without getting scathed, without getting burned? And then can I do it again a couple more times and just sort of make it through? We are in rough seas. And so we've got to pull the sails in. All our sizes need to be smaller in terms of participation. We have to pull those sails in. We have to batten down the hatches, and we have to be very, very cautious about sailing in the rough seas.
All right, Anne-Marie Baiynd has been with us for about 20 minutes now.
Yeah, we kept you long, Anne-Marie. Sorry about that.
The tradingbook.com, a technician, great follow on Twitter. Anne-Marie, thanks for the time, and get some sleep.
Thanks. Good luck, fellas.
All right.
Have a great day. Thanks for.
Whoops, I cut her off there. Sorry about that, Anne-Marie. All right, Dennis, what happened to you? We lost you.
Yeah, Dennis.
Big Brother's always watching.
No.
You can't talk about China. No, it's just a joke. I don't know why. My computer just exploded, basically. So I got it up and running here again. So right. I need to get. So I've got 3 computers here. I run. The one is almost exclusively the show over here. It's an older computer. I know I should get a better computer for the show, but it seems to suffice. Anyways, this computer is about 6 years old, and for whatever reason, it just shut down. And I was like, all right. So then I rebooted. This happened to us once, 3 or 4 months ago too. Right. So it's got something in there after so long. I guess it just shuts down. So it wasn't Big Brother. That was a joke. I didn't get shut down by talking about China. Benzinga didn't boot me off either. My computer just for whatever reason decided to die for a moment.
That was interesting. Again, that was interesting. All right, let's we got
I want to talk, Joel, before you take it. I've got to talk the growth to value trade.
Yep,
that was
happening yesterday. Talk about that. Let's talk about it.
This really, and I didn't see the media talking about this at all. I mean, the coronavirus is just all over the place, but we saw an extreme move from growth to value yesterday. A lot of growth stocks actually traded and went down yesterday. So on a day that the Dow was up over 400 points, you saw stocks like Shopify going in the red yesterday. You saw stocks like Square going red yesterday. The stocks that had been loved and moving, the cloud stocks, another one, Workday, huge reversal day yesterday. Opens high, 197, gets back $10. It was a very weak day for growth. I think that continues today. So if you're seeing rallies in your growth names, I think those things are selling opportunities here now. We don't know how long this rotation lasts, but it was very prevalent yesterday. I mean, none more than on the other side of it, IBM. IBM, obviously, you talk about a value stock, low PE, cash cow. That thing ripped yesterday, $7. I mean, when's the last time IBM ripped $7 on no earnings? That was just a huge move. So these are your poster childs for what I'm talking about. Seeing those cloud names come off, seeing stocks like Shopify come down, although Shopify held up quite well. I'm still long Shopify, full disclosure. Roku had a bad day. I mean, all the growth names, the higher PE multiple stocks, not Apple, because it's lower. It's almost kind of is a little value stock, but it was more of the high PE names going to low PE names. And IBM was just ripping.
Broke out. I mean, it's above 150. I didn't even have it up. I'm up on my screen and see what are we doing. We're giving a little bit back.
It's got a big selling balance this morning. It's got
really?
Some institution said that's a big move. I'm getting the hell out of my IBM, and they're doing it this morning. There's 73,000 shares to sell, so that's going to hold down. That's a big selling balance this early in the morning for IBM, so that's going to bring down the open. But I'm not sure if this was a one-day event, if this is going to continue. On the buy side, on the sell side, I think like a name like Square. I'm long Square in the long-term portfolio. But I'd be nervous if I had this on for a trade now, like in the short term, because look where it topped out. We talked about this. We talked about it as it was approaching. I'm like, you're going to have struggles at 82 because that is where it got back to in March. That is where it got back to in the summer. That's where it got back to in October of the previous year. There's a wall of resistance at 82. Where does it get to? 82.10. And where does it decide to reverse? Right then and there. So it gives you one day where it touches up to the 82, and then we have a complete reversal happening on the stock straight down. I think rallies to be sold now in Square, at least from a trading perspective.
All right.
So what do you want to do next, Spencer?
I have more examples if you want.
You have more examples.
The banks were strong yesterday.
What else?
Well, just saying they're the same thing, still the growth to value. So, I mean, it's important to understand these rotations. So, sometimes it's more important to take more than 2 minutes to talk about something like this.
Sure.
Because the rotation is how I make money as a trader. I look for edges. And when you can identify the rotation before everybody else, you have an edge. I mean, mass media didn't even cover it today. That's why I feel like the rotation will continue today. So I think if you're coming in here and buying the workday up $2 this morning, or buying some of these other stocks, these Momo stocks that are trading up this morning because the overall market is up, I think you're on the wrong side of the trade. I think, I don't know if it's going to continue the rotation or not, but I do think that there's some people spooked in some of these stocks right now. And I do think you're going to see some follow through selling here this morning. So I'd be taking the opportunity, whatever Momo stock is trading up, to, if I was long, as a trade, long-term investing completely different, but with the trading hat on, I'd be lightening up those. If I had swing trades on some of these stocks like Square, I'd be lightening up.
So how would you incorporate earnings into that? So I'll give you Twilio, for example. Twilio is one of these Momo growth names.
Yes.
Good earnings, bad guidance. Now, taking those into account, seeing what the stock did yesterday, how would you approach it today?
I mean, I would have been approaching in the earnings itself. I mean, so if it was rallying on the earnings, I don't know what it did on the headline. I was actually trading Peloton. I wasn't trading Twilio.
Okay.
But for the same reasons, you see the reversal yesterday. You're like, okay, people are caught. If we get any lift on the earnings, it's probably going to give it back. And I don't know if it lifted originally or not, but if you're trading on it, it looks like it did give you a little opportunity quickly. I mean, there's an opportunity there. Peloton was the same story. People were like scratching their heads. It was a pretty darn good quarter. But you know what? It had the reversal day. And we had a rotation happening. And now you get a lift. And it got up to $35 after hours on that lift, on those initial numbers. And then it started to crater. And the market will go find a fundamental reason to justify it. But it's a simple fact that rotation on this day has now occurred, and people are nervous on the growth names. So when they get a little pop on them, they're going to take that opportunity to sell, and that's what they did with Peloton. With Twilio, if they disappoint, they're going down. But I mean, initially, those numbers actually didn't look that bad. The 4 cents and 331, it was a beat and a beat. And if you do look initially, Joel, I think it did pop. So again, same story.
It did get a nice pop.
It did pop. So you would have got an opportunity. So if you were following the rotation from the day, you would actually maybe got an opportunity to get the hell out at 129 or 130 afterwards, right after it reported, and then it started to crater. So so it's a great question, Spencer, and you're absolutely seeing it happen in this earnings report today. Now it's down $5.50. Am I looking at that one as an opportunity to sell? No, because you're selling in the hole. I'd be looking at other stocks though that maybe had a pretty good day yesterday, or a pretty bad day, like CRM had a complete reversal day yesterday. It's trading up in the pre-market here right now. I mean, that's a stock that I might be looking to take profits in, or maybe even initiate a short, because that was straight down 190. You have people, caught. Jeremy Newsom looks at this. He does a great job with it too. He looks at candles. I'm looking at all different stocks, and I look at the candles as well. I mean, you just look from where it opened, CRM. It went straight down $4 in like the first 10 to 20 minutes of trading yesterday. Then it had a little lift, and then it's straight down another $4. Then it tries to lift at the end of the day. You got the buy the dippers coming in here, but I think there's now overhead supply because there's people who are caught. And those people who are caught yesterday are those people who saw the 190 and didn't get out. This stock's been on the run. It's $160 when the year started. So there's some people sitting on some profits. Those people will want to book them. So a stock like CRM, I would actually look to sell it here into strength.
And Peloton had the exact same sort of move as Twilio there. And you said you were trading it. It's also one of these.
I was trying to sell it.
Right. It's also one of these growth names. Same story as Twilio. The earnings were good. They were light on their Q3 earnings guidance figure. So low on the guidance, good on the earnings, but it's a growth name, and they sold it.
I mean, but even if you're in line with the guidance, and again, the media will always the media wants to believe. I talk to media all the time. Reuters report called me 2 days ago. I talk to media. The media doesn't want to hear technical stuff. They want to hear a fundamental reason for why the stock is moving in a certain direction, and sometimes there really isn't one.
I think that's natural. I think most people,
the people who are watching, like CNBC. If we go on them and CNBC and they say, well, it's just the rotation, and they don't want to hear that. They want to see, they want to write in print. When you write in the Wall Street Journal, you're writing in your Dow Jones. They want to have a fundamental reason to justify a move, and they will find it. And the media, and a lot of times what you read isn't true. It isn't accurate because that's not the reason. The reason was the rotation. So, and maybe in the Twilio case, maybe the guidance was the reason, and maybe there is sometimes a fundamental reason. I'm telling you, in a lot of cases, there isn't. A lot of times, the rotation just trumps all. So you can have a beat, and a raise. If the rotation is going the other way, the stock can actually go down. Sentiment will trump all. Sentiment turned yesterday on the growth names. It turned. So that's telling me that those things are now short-term sells. So now I look for strength in those high PE multiples to get short. So, I'm not saying I'm shorting the overall market. I might even hedge myself. Maybe I buy some value names. Maybe I do set up a trade like this. You could set up like a QQQ short versus SPY long, or even versus a DIA long, because Diamonds has a lot of value stocks in there. So, maybe that outperforms. Like right now, QQQs are 0.39%, DIA is 0.37. So you can actually put it on for 0.02. And maybe you think that rotation continues. So you could do this from an ETF perspective. And yesterday that would have worked very well because the Dow was up a hell of a lot more than the NASDAQ. So we know the NASDAQ has higher PE stocks. So, just setting up those different trades for you here today. But I would not be surprised if the NASDAQ shows relatively weakness versus the Dow, because I believe this rotation will continue today. Is it going to continue for the next year? No, I don't know. Nobody knows that going out that far. But I tell you, when the rotation starts happening, it usually lasts a few days. And those are tradable opportunities for you day traders out there.
Bottom line, no one really ever knows why stock is moving the way it is.
More buyers than sellers, and more sellers than buyers.
Yeah. That's what it is. But I mean, really, why stock is moving is at best an educated guess. Always.
That's all it is.
Always.
100%. It's an educated guess. And sometimes there is no reason. It's just going. And your job as a trader is sometimes, if you can find the logic behind it. And and that's what I'm doing for you here today, is I'm trying to give you the logic behind it. And if I'm right, if that really was the reasons for all, and identifying correctly, and if there is follow through, I will make money because of that. If I'm wrong, I will lose money because of that. I mean, as traders, you're never going to make money on all your trades. You're never going to make money on everything you do. So you can't be right 100% of the time. But if you're right 52 or 53% of the time, you can make a living at this business for a long time.
Hey, Dennis, to track that, you just put your values. I mean, I know you have different quote windows and stuff. You just group your value stocks together, and then you put your growth stocks.
I kind of do. Yeah, I've got, so on my quote window, I've got, maybe 300 stocks. And you can see I have them in pockets. So I have them grouped, like the banks are over here, and I have some growth names over here. And it's amazing. I should take a picture of this sometimes for you. On these days, you'll see it's like a Christmas tree. It's like red over here. It's green over here. And the pockets of green yesterday were all the value, the lower PE stocks, like the banks.
Yep.
Banks had a really good day. And, IBM had a fabulous day. It's low PE. It's trading like 10 times earnings. Those are the stocks that had the good day yesterday. And then you obviously got, the stocks like, we were just saying CRM, which opened up at 190 and traded down on a day that Dow was up 450. CRM opened up at 190 and lost $8. I mean, that is clear rotation. There was a lot of stocks that were very weak yesterday, and that's hidden. And that's nothing to do with coronavirus, nothing to do with anything. All that was rotation. Rotation, the Momo names have been going for a while here, and it turned yesterday. And typically when these things turn, it lasts at least a few days. So that's why I would say, the mass media hasn't even really, they weren't talking about it yesterday. So they haven't even really identified it yet. So let's see, if it happens again today, they'll start identifying it. And when the media starts talking about it and everybody gets involved, then it gets crowded and then it can turn. But I don't believe there's been that many people that have identified this turn yesterday. Spinner did, and, he's a trader like me. We're day trading there, so we notice it faster. But, I know when you're in the markets, I can notice the rotation, a few minutes after it starts happening, let alone, a few hours. So that's our job. That's our job as traders, is to identify these trends and these turns in trend. And yesterday you had a turn in trend in the momentum names.
All right. Want to do Peloton numbers?
Yeah, I sort of teased them. I gave them a little bit. Basically, Peloton was the same story. The earnings were good. The EPS beat. They lost 20 cents per share. They were expected to lose 36 cents per share, so losing less money than thought. Sales $466 versus $421 million. The guidance, like I said, for the third quarter was light.
Wow. Well, double disclosure here. Do own the stock in one of my portfolios. Double disclosure, I did my Peloton this morning. I worked out, got a good workout in before the day.
Is this in your long-term portfolio?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't listen to the show, do you, Joel? I mean, Joel's up to his opinion, but I'll take a bet on you all day long that this sees 25 before 35. All day long. If you want to make a bet.
Okay.
I think the Peloton story is, I do not like this long term. I think this is a $5 stock long term, in my opinion. So I hope I'm wrong for your sake, Joel. But I just think this is a fad. This is GoPro Part 2. I talked this stock. I thought it was going to have a good quarter because they advertised like crazy, and they did have a pretty good quarter. This was my goal, was to actually try to short this stock after this quarter. Now it's down 7%. I don't know if I want to short it in the hole. I'd love to get a little rally here and then put a short on it. But I'm not trying to talk you out of your position, Joel. So let's do that bet. It's 30-26. I'm even giving you an edge.
I know.
I'll take 25 before 35.
All right. That sounds good. I just think that it is an effective way. I mean, it's not my primary, source of working out, but I think that people do like to work out in their home. And, in addition to doing other things, a variety of classes, it's not just the biking part. There's stretching, there's yoga, there's different things. And I think that, people, maybe should pay more attention to their health. And I just think that it's a good thing.
I think they should too, but I think they can get a stationary bike and do the same thing. So we're on opposite sides of this. Joel, I hope you're right, because I don't have real money in it. So I hope you're right. I hope I'll actually lose this bet. And you could be right. You could be right. I'm wrong lots of times. I think this is GoPro Part 2.
Okay. It's had a nice range since its IPO. I got up to 37 pretty quickly and then came down to 20 and change. So I'm looking at this 28 and a half area. You did get quite a bit below it in the pre-market. You got down to 27.30. But I mean, I'm not going to give it down to that $25 area. I just like it holding above that mid-range. I think as long as you can do that, looking at it technically, that's what I'm looking at. Get that pop up, but I mean, if it changes, if we start getting multiple closes of 429, I'll change my mind on it. See what happens today. But good. We'll do a launch card.
The wild card is a subscription model. I mean, that's the wild card on this, and that's what it does that GoPro didn't have. So that does help. But what's this company? Let's go look from a valuation perspective. We'll put our fundies hat on here for a second. I'm just, before I, full on go full on bearish, I haven't given this a lot of thought, but I'm just trying to look. What is the valuation of this thing? It's worth $9 billion. Wow. $9 billion.
Well, was that as of the close, or was that right now?
That would have been as a close. So $8
billion.
$8.5 billion. It's a lot of money. A lot of money. You think about what's worth $9 billion out there, and you think about, here's, pretty cool invention. It sounds pricey to me though. So, but we know price doesn't matter if it gets a good story going.
If you're going to use that as an example, but anyways,
So $9 billion. So that means Apple could afford to buy 20 Peloton companies
With their cash. Do you think Apple's going to buy Peloton?
20 times. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. No,
Don't
I
think
don't
that.
think.
Okay.
I don't think anybody's coming to buy them at that valuation, to be honest with you. So
Okay.
It's a crazy valuation. You know what? Tesla's a crazy valuation too. Maybe you've got the Tesla. You were long Tesla, and right about that one. And I was obviously bullish too. I just couldn't stomach the stock. I'm not bullish this one. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm definitely not bullish this stock.
All right, we got a few minutes left here. S&P's we're still holding on to the gains. We're up 8.5 handles at 33.43.50. Since we got nothing up here, I'm looking at mid-range on the session at 45.25, but we've traded through it so many times here. So really no good levels here to lean on early in the session. I'm sure if you come back down near yesterday's high or the close of 30.35, looking to find some support. But do we want to do a few more earnings?
Yeah, if we can. I would like to hit Qualcomm if possible, since we talked NXPI the other day. Qualcomm earnings per share was good, 99 cents versus 85 cents. Sales was also good, 5.05 billion versus 4.8 billion dollars. The Q2 EPS guidance was in line. Q2 sales guidance also in line, and that's the story for Qualcomm. Good earnings in line on the guidance.
Same story. This stock is, can you classify it as a Momo? It's kind of value too.
Really?
It's got a good dividend. It's kind of in between, I guess. You can't really say it's more value towards the value end of the spectrum. So it popped initially. I'm torn on whether to call it. It is kind of a Momo stock to a certain extent. It's been trading like a Momo stock. I mean, even in the last year, but the valuation is not, crazy on this thing. It's not an 80 PE on this thing. So it's kind of in between. So I guess, I guess you can't, say it's going to be, a rotation out of this because it's a growth name, because it's kind of in between.
Had a nice pop up. I mean, if you had been focusing on that January 17th high at 96.17, you wouldn't have got filled because it only went to 95.88. So longer term, 96, major area of resistance. We're backed off that level now. We've also got off the pre-market low. Pre-market low comes in at 86.57. Kind of tough chart here because you had a nice bump up over the last 3 or 4 days. I think I'd have to call support down here at 85. We got a pair of lows here, 85.04, 85.16. Still a ways away from there. Where are we at? We're trading at still trading at 89.11. What was use the close from yesterday? The close from yesterday, 90.91. There's your resistance at 90.91. I'm sure a lot of people like to see the mark here on Qualcomm.
They want to do iRobot before we go.
That's where I was going to go.
Multiple requests. This stock was insane after the earnings report. Give us the numbers, and Joel break down the after hours action, which was a crazy move.
iRobot, it was a good report. EPS 80 cents versus a 40-cent estimate, so they beat it by a factor of 100%. Sales 426 million versus 415 million. Great report for iRobot.
Where did we get to, Joel? Let's say 6. Did I see 60 on this?
Yes.
What was the high?
60.90.
This thing went up $12. This stock that's absolutely hated by the markets, and it really is. I mean, this stock's been in a heavy downtrend for the last year. It was $130. It's been hated for a long time. Rallied $11 on that earnings report. If you're buying this stock up $11 when you know the trend is absolutely going against trend, you are nuts. And maybe it's just algos that are just crazy and like, oh, it's a double beat. Oh, they beat by twice as much. We better buy this up to 60 because it's going to 80. It's not doing that. So the one thing is, it was a very good quarter. Should it be up $2? I think absolutely should be up $2, you know, because this is the first of value name. So the rotation is kind of in its favor here right now. Should it have been up $11 or $12 yesterday? That's just craziness. That's just people like Tesla, like, it's going to go. I mean, no, it's a different story. This thing's got a boatload of overhead supply. So I was long iRobot for a while. I love my value stocks, but I sold it because I was worried about coronavirus and I had it on for a swing trade. So I got out at 54.5. It was a good out. The stock came down to 46.47 after. I guess I should have rebought, and I've been making money on it again, but I did not. So I'm fully out of IRBT right now. But that was an insane move yesterday. With that being said, the rotation is in the stock's favor, and it was a pretty good quarter. I just think, you got up near 54, 55, you've got pretty good resistance. 60, the 60 is just great.
Yeah, trading up. Wow. Let's see what the range from yesterday. Kind of a tight range yesterday. Just about $2 here. So we will use the top of yesterday's range, 49.80, as support. Just looking at the dailies here, man, things are kind of open. First things first, let's take care of your January 30th high. That comes in at 52.19. 60 cents, 70 cents away from that. That's your first resistance point. And then it really opens up to 55. So keep an eye on that. Intermediate stop, 54.14. That was a close. But important for this issue, take out 52.19 and get into that open area.
All right, we somehow never quite get to cover as many earnings reports as I would like, and just
I talk too long.
No,
no
Dennis, no.
I talk too long.
But looking ahead to the earnings after the close today, we're going to get Pinterest, we're going to get Uber, we're going to get Take-Two, Activision, Wynn, just to name a few. So we're going to be on our earnings parade here for the next few days. And
Jobs number
also tomorrow. Don't forget that. So there will always be time for more earnings, and we can always cover them.
You know what else we didn't talk about quickly is the retail. Retail's all value names. There was a huge rotation in retail yesterday too. Somebody asking about Al Brands. I know you have that one, Joel. So I hate your Peloton position, but I do love your Al Brands position here right now. I'm jealous of your Al B position because I had it. I got shaken out of it. I shouldn't have got shaken out, and I would be reaping the benefits here right now. But there are, Kohl's. What we saw yesterday was Macy's, and this was a tell. Macy's, lowered guidance. They announced store
closing
closures,
stores,
and they bought the hell out of the stock on it. And that was maybe, started some of the rotation of the retail rally yesterday because Kohl's had a big rally yesterday. The retail could be in favor here for a couple of days, so be careful with your short retail stocks.
Interesting.
I like your LB. I don't like your Peloton.
All right.
And that's a lunch bet on that. That's not a steak dinner.
He's somewhat, I've got him thinking here. I don't want to talk you out. You know what's going to happen? It's going to be like the JP Morgan all over again. Joel, talk me out of getting the JP Morgan. I'll probably talk him out of getting out. He'll get out of his Peloton. Then it'll go to like $100, and Joel will just be like, "Oh, that Dennis."
Oh, that $28.99. I told you could get it cheaper. All right.
Yeah.
All right. If you missed any part of our show, you can always catch our podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, or rewatch our show on YouTube. Thanks to our guest, Anne-Marie Baiynd, and everyone in our chats on YouTube and premarket.benzinga.com. If you click on the link in the description of this video to Benzinga Pro, you'll get a free 2-week trial and then a discount on top of your subscription should you choose to subscribe. Again, that's a link to Benzinga Pro in the description of this video. You can also email us, premarket@benzinga.com. Give us a call, 734-494-0246. Leave us a voicemail. We might ask your question on the show. Last thing, please remember, all the information from our show is meant to be used as informational purposes only, not for investment or trading advice. Everyone have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you on Friday. I can't talk today.